The classic sitcom Steptoe and Son made big stars of actors Wilfrid Brambell and Harry H. Corbett. However, neither star was that grateful for their role in the series by the time it was over. In fact, by the end of their lives, both stars had grown to despise both the series and each other. Join Factsverse as we explore how the two Steptoe and Son stars wished they had never laid eyes on each other. Wilfrid Brambell and Harry H. Corbett were an odd couple. Wilfrid Brambell and Harry H. Corbett first met each other in 1969 when they were cast on the comedy program Steptoe and Son. The program debuted on the BBC the same year and quickly became a big hit with audience members. Audiences loved the chemistry between the two leads, who formed the show's titular father and son duo. However, behind the scenes, Wilfrid and Harry found that they didn't have all that much in common. By the time both performers died during the 1980s, they couldn't stand each other. Most people aren't familiar with the story of how much Wilfrid and Harry didn't get along behind the scenes of Steptoe and Son. Fans of the series may have a hard time revisiting once they realize just how much the two performers grew to hate each other over the course of the series' run. The show ran from 1962 to 1974. Over the course of the series, 8 seasons were produced. In 1972, the show was adapted into a feature. Steptoe and Son featured Wilfrid Brambell portraying the character of Albert Steptoe, who was the father of Harry H. Corbett's Harold. Albert and Harold Steptoe did their best to get along, but had plenty of differences. In real life, the actors who played the two characters had similar differences. While these differences led to great and relatable comedy on the small screen, they led to some serious troubles in the actors' day-to-day lives. Wilfrid and Harry grew to despise each other. Though father and son duo Albert and Harold Steptoe certainly formed an odd couple on the screen, the actors who portrayed them made up an even odder couple behind the scenes. Of the two performers, Wilfrid Brambell was the much more volatile. However, it would be Harry H. Corbett's intense hatred of his elder performer that would cause the relationship between them to dissolve for good. Not only was Wilfrid Brambell a severe alcoholic, but he was also a closeted homosexual. Wilfrid was known for all kinds of exuberant behavior, both in and out of Steptoe and Son's filming. When Wilfrid was approached in the street by fans of the show, he wouldn't mince words when telling them to leave him alone. By the time that Wilfrid was given his role on Steptoe and Son, he was already a veteran performer who was set in his ways, for better and for worse. If Wilfrid Brambell was the wild one, Harry H. Corbett was the one who knew how to keep his cool. However, Harry wouldn't be able to keep his cool with Wilfrid for long. As compared to the homosexual Wilfrid, Harry was a womanizer who had a taste for the high life. Harry was certainly the classier of the two performers, and this was also matched in his on-screen persona. Despite the fact that Wilfrid and Harry rarely got along during the show's filming, Steptoe and Son lasted until 1974. By that point, Harry was very excited about the prospect of no longer having to work with Wilfrid. However, fate had other plans for the two. Some have suggested that one of the reasons that Wilfrid Brambell was such a miserable alcoholic over the course of his life was that he was unhappy about having to keep his sexuality hidden away from the public. Wilfrid reasonably assumed that television audiences would grow to fear him if he let his true sexuality be known, so he hid it away from both his fans and his contemporaries. However, Wilfrid's true sexuality gradually became an open secret amongst his peers. The man was known to travel abroad and come back with beautiful foreign men. Wilfrid would always claim that these figures were simply hired help, but those who knew the actor could see through the facade. While Wilfrid Brambell's sexual preferences didn't cause many problems, his alcoholism certainly did. Some believe that Wilfrid took to the bottle to such a degree because he was upset about having to hide his true sexual identity from the public. Regardless of the performer's reasons for succumbing to alcoholism, the consequences were devastating for both him and those around him. It would be this alcoholism that would go on to cause the rift between him and the actor who played his on-screen son. If you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to hit the like button to show your support. Also, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be among the first to know when more Factsverse videos are on their way. Wilfrid was a semi-functioning alcoholic. There have been numerous celebrities over the course of entertainment history that have been functioning alcoholics. Wilfrid Brambell likely would have wished to count himself amongst their ranks, but he was a semi-functioning alcoholic at best. Wilfrid's alcoholism got in the way of his work numerous times. During the filming of Steptoe and Son, Wilfrid's alcoholism caused him to repeatedly flub lines. As the actor's physical state began to grow worse towards the back end of the series, it also caused him to have a hard time correctly manipulating props. Over the course of filming Steptoe and Son, Wilfrid's worsening behavior would wear on Harry H. Corbett's nerves to a significant degree. However, it wouldn't be until a few years after Steptoe and Son's 1974 cancellation that their relationship truly ended. Other incidents that were caused by Wilfrid Brambell's alcoholism include the time he was almost deported from New Zealand for disparaging the country on public television during a visit. Wilfrid had been asked during an interview what he thought about New Zealand, and he had drunkenly replied that he didn't think very highly of the country at all. In fact, Wilfrid claimed that the country was the worst place that he had ever been to in his entire life. A later incident saw a drunken Wilfrid peeing in the captain's cabin during a flight. Wilfrid Brambell's closeted sexuality wasn't the only cause of the actor's misery. Many years before Steptoe and Son came on the air, the comedic performer had been married to a woman that ended up breaking his heart. That woman was an actress by the name of Molly Josephine, whom Wilfrid married in 1948. The two lived together for a period of time in London. As this was before Wilfrid's career success, the couple rented out a room of their house for extra money. One of these tenants ended up wooing Molly, who proceeded to cheat on Wilfrid. Molly became pregnant as a result of the extramarital affair. When Wilfrid found out that the baby wasn't his, he had a mental breakdown. Wilfrid and Mary divorced in 1955, and Steptoe and Son came on the air several years later. Wilfrid never remarried over the course of his life, instead focusing on his homosexual affairs. Wilfrid and Harry preferred not to interact. Though Wilfrid Brambell and Harry H. Corbett grew to hate each other by the time of their deaths, they didn't always have such venomous feelings towards one another. In fact, the two barely communicated during the early days of Steptoe and Son's filming. The two only ever really needed to interact when the cameras were rolling. Harry was well aware that Wilfrid was an unreliable performer as a result of his alcoholism, and he didn't expect that much from him. Harry rehearsed on his own time and performed on the series to the best of his abilities. Meanwhile, Wilfrid always managed to get his work done, even if it took a few takes. Wilfrid and Harry wouldn't grow to truly despise each other until several years after Steptoe and Son was done filming. Though neither performer had a very great time over the course of the program's production, they found themselves pigeonholed into their respective roles after its cancellation. Because of this, the two performers' best career prospects after the show came to an end saw them continuing to perform together as a duo. In 1976, Wilfrid and Harry went on a tour together to capitalize on the fame they had garnered from their decade-plus in the roles of Alfred and Harold Steptoe. It was during this tour that the pair's relationship fell apart for good. The early part of the tour went well, with Wilfrid and Harry continuing their successful workflow of only communicating in front of the audience. However, while Harry could rely on Wilfrid to always show up for the audience during Steptoe and Son's run, this changed when the two went out on tour together. By the time of the pair's 1976 tour, Wilfrid's alcoholism had worsened considerably. One day, the actor was so drunk that he didn't make it to the stage. This left Harry H. Corbett with the challenge of keeping the audience entertained by himself. If Harry H. Corbett had put up with Wilfrid's antics in the past, being left high and dry on the stage proved too much. Harry broke things off with Wilfrid, and the two never mended their relationship in the following years leading up to their respective deaths. Harry ended up passing away in 1982, while Wilfrid passed away in 1985. Today, audiences are still shocked to learn that the two performers grew to hate each other. The series Steptoe and Son famously paved the way for the American series Sanford and Son, which saw Red Fox take on Wilfrid's role and Demond Wilson take on Harry's. Wilfrid Brambell also remains known to fans for his performance in the 1964 Beatles film A Hard Day's Night. Although Steptoe and Son stars Wilfrid Brambell and Harry H. Corbett did their best to keep their relationship professional, they grew to hate each other by the time of their deaths. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know that Steptoe and Son star Wilfrid Brambell was almost deported from New Zealand for drunkenly disparaging the country on public television, and that his rampant alcoholism also caused problems between him and co-star Harry H. Corbett? As always, like this video to show your support and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be among the first to know when more Factsverse videos are on their way. We're the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Factsverse, and we are creating a new UK version of the channel. We're looking for someone to do up to 30 videos a month. Reach out to Danielle at Factsverse.com if you're interested in working together more.